Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and today's video is going to be a fun one. In today's video, I'm taking you to the Open Great League, where a trainer is running rampant with the newly released Shadow Thundurus. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, MakiDK, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now, Shadow Thundurus has an attack stat so high, it would win CMP over Morpeko by almost 10. It is so frail that even resisted moves will absolutely delete it. It is not a Pokemon you should ever use if you care about your elo, but that's not going to stop MakiDK. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and in game number 1, lead Shadow Thundurus into Shadow Annihilape. Shadow Thundurus is so glassy that Annihilape wins the 2 shield, but luckily this opponent does not know that. They save switch into Charjabug, and they find out immediately that Charjabug is anything but safe on the swap. Charjabug just gets completely shut down by Clodsire. Opponent, they're so sick of the situation they're in already. They're throwing bad manners discharges, double resisted. But to be fair, it's not like an X-Scissor would do meaningfully more damage either, as X-Scissor is going to be resisted here as well. Clodsire farms up just shy of 100 energy and will look to deliver a knockout with Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb lands, down goes Charjabug, and back in comes Annihilape. Annihilape does have some stored energy because they did a counter before switching out. I'm a bit surprised after seeing how much damage the counter did. They did not end up staying in, but they pivoted out, and unfortunately, that's going to cost them everything. Now Clodsire makes it to a Sludge Bomb, forcing a shield from the Annihilape, and everything is going wrong for the opponent in this game. They're going to have to Ice Punch. If they go for a Rage Fist, which they do, that will simply not take the knockout, and Clodsire actually fully farms down. In the back is a Bastiodon, and Bastiodon is immediately hit with the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb very heavily resisted, that's not going to do much, but in comes Thundurus to land some Brick Breaks. Bastiodon will be taking double super effective damage from the Brick Break. Thundurus barely hanging on as it makes a last second move. This is going to force the final shield from Bastiodon. This toxic team getting absolutely deleted by Thundurus, and the opponent concedes the match. Hopping into the next match, Thundurus into Annihilape. This time it is the non-Shadow Annihilape, so maybe Thundurus can actually win the 2s. Opponent safe switches a Bastiodon. What is happening in the Go Battle League? Why are there so many Bastiodons absolutely everywhere, and why is this one being safe swapped? If I had to think of the worst possible Pokemon you could ever safe switch in the Go Battle League, Bastiodon might be number 1. Bastiodon has absolutely no flexibility to speak of, and Bastiodon, I mean, it just can't really do anything. Flamethrower does nothing, the Smackdowns do nothing. Clodsire exits this matchup with so much HP, as back in comes Annihilape. It's the non-Shadow Annihilape as well, which we noticed earlier, which means they're really not going to have a lot of damage into the Clodsire. Even if they do have Ice Punch is just simply not going to be enough to deliver a knockout. Clodsire with the no shield, Annihilape goes for the Ice Punch, it simply will not KO. In the back is Steelix, and Steelix cannot get the double resisted Thunderfang down before the Earthquake gets a shield. Now in comes Sealeo. Sealeo in a bit of an awkward spot because you don't really want to shield Psychic Fangs, but if you don't, then suddenly the Thunderfangs are absolutely shredding. Sealeo going for a bait here, trying to grab the final shield from Steelix. Steelix puts up the shield. Steelix hoping for a farm down, but no, they get panicked and they fire off the Psychic Fangs. This Psychic Fangs means that Sealeo will make the Surf. Opponent sends in Annihilape, but even Annihilape cannot get that farm down. The undercharge on the Surf, it still KOs. Back in comes the Steelix, and it's up to Thundurus to close the game. Thundurus, Brick Break only hitting for single super effective damage, but that's gonna hurt. Oh my goodness, we get the Thunder Punch BM. This is the kind of disrespect I want to see. Down goes Steelix to a double resisted Thunder Punch, and that is a good game. Hopping right into game number 3, leading Shadow Thundurus into Talonflame. If Talonflame had Flame Charge, it could probably win the 2s there. But Talonflame safe switches into Morpeko, and Morpeko, like the Charjabug before it, is getting sent to jail by Clodsire. Clodsire forcing them to go for Psychic Fangs. Even if they're able to land the Orwheel Dark after this into the -1 Clodsire, Clodsire just cannot be farmed down after. The Orwheel is going to land. That's not a problem for Clodsire whatsoever. And Clodsire will look to farm up just shy of 100 energy before going for the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb into Morpeko does get shielded. Morpeko going for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs will be able to deliver the knockout, but Clodsire is not quite done yet. Clodsire puts up the shield, gonna look to try and KO with the Sludge Bomb, waits the turn, no switch out from the opponent, and this damage is getting the final shield. Quick switch into Thundurus. Thundurus, oh my goodness, went for the Brick Break and it's caught onto Credilli. I don't think Credilli's gonna like that damage. Thundurus, oh my goodness, gonna overfarm to the max, CMP tying Credilli. Credilli desperate for a Rock Tomb debuff. That's never gonna land, as they do get knocked out. Back in comes Morpeko. Now Thundurus would win charge attack priority here, but just gonna let the Thundurus go and trust in the Sealeo to close out this game. In comes Sealeo, look at the Powder Snows, and a devastating catch onto Clodsire. Say it ain't so, Mr. Opponent. Catching the Aura Wheel where it's going to be double resisted onto the Clodsire. Back in comes Talonflame just to get deleted by a Surf. Shadow Sealeo has monster damage output. Surf lands, Talonflame hangs on just to give the perfect farm down to the Sealeo. And the opponent, they just stop tapping, and they get farmed down by Powder Snows. We move to the next game, Shadow Thundurus into Marowak, and this is a terrible lead. Even though Thundurus is a flying type, you would not guess it by the amount of damage Thundurus is taking from these Mud Slaps. It's always a good sign when your flying type has to shield a Bone Club. They didn't even build up to the Rock Slide, but Thundurus is so glassy that in the twos, it's probably just getting fully farmed down. However, the opponent does not know the moveset. They shield the first, and that means this Brick Break is now going to do more damage. Brick Break lands, that's going to hurt. In comes Sealeo. Opponent sends out Bastiodon, and we cannot escape the Bastiodons in these battles. Oh my goodness. I really want a SmackDown nerf. There is no reason to see this many Bastiodons in the Go Battle League. But the Bastiodon player throws on alignment as Bastiodon players always do, and that allows Sealeo to CMP tie and get the Bastiodon very low. Bastiodon now deep into the red HP. Stone Edge will take the knockout, and in comes Clodsire. Clodsire, I don't think it's ever going to be able to poison this thing down, but oh my goodness, the prediction! In comes the Marowak trying to snipe with a Bone Club, the catch onto Thundurus, but now Clodsire is going to have to try and poison this thing down. It realizes it can't do that. Instead, going to have to go for a Sludge Bomb. Clodsire has to hope that it's a pretty catastrophically bad matchup for the opponent in the back, and Azumarill might be the perfect Pokemon. Clodsire did have a pretty big energy head start, and it is absolutely going to need it. Clodsire taking some pretty substantial damage from the bubbles as it goes for Sludge Bomb number 2. Azumarill should hang on here, but not by much. Azumarill, however, puts up the shield. Azumarill, Ice Beam. This is where Clodsire's shield has to be used. The opponent goes for a Play Rough. Are they Play Rough and Hydro Pump? It appears they are. Clodsire trying to get every little bit of extra energy as it takes the knockout with the Sludge Bomb. Back in comes the Bastiodon. It's going to be a race. Bastiodon losing charge attack priority to Clodsire. The perfect energy management. Another toxic team gets KO'd by the Shadow Thundurus team. We move to the next game, Shadow Thundurus. What will we see on the lead? This time into a Shadow Sealeo. Not a toxic team, Shadow Sealeo is an incredibly cool pick. Unfortunately, Shadow Sealeo is absolutely deleting Thundurus, but the opponent makes a massive error as they CMP tie the Thundurus. That is not something you want to do. You're not going to be winning the CMP tie against Thundurus. Sealeo could have very comfortably farmed down. They undercharge, so they do get a little bit of extra farm, but now it's a Sealeo mirror. Opponent safe switches into a Charjabug, and people have got to stop safe switching Charjabug, man. There is just no way this ends well, and unfortunately, it ends by getting absolutely destroyed by a Clodsire. Clodsire going to be hit with X Scissor after X Scissor, as Clodsire will look to farm up, and this time going to opt for the Earthquake. Earthquake will do quite a bit more damage than Sludge Bomb. Earthquake not going to deliver a knockout, but could potentially set up a diabolical farm down for the Clodsire. In the back, opponent has Gourgeist. Gourgeist immediately hit with the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb will do a solid amount of damage, and Claude has so much energy that it's already at Sludge Bomb number 2. This Sludge Bomb is going to connect. The opponent tries to call the combo play with the Sealeo, but Sealeo just stays on the field. Instead, Seed Bomb's going to land. In comes the Sealeo. There's that snipe down with Powder Snow. And now the opponent is in an endgame that they can never hope to win. One Body Slam is not going to be KOing Maki's Sealeo, so Maki very safe to let this go, and then just start the Body Slam spam. Body Slam after Body Slam after Body Slam, alternating 10 and 8 turn pacing. Sealeo is just absolutely relentless. Another Body Slam into the Sealeo. This time it is going to connect. There's still 2 Protect Shields to work with. Opponent makes a catch onto the Charjabug, but there's just no way out. Charjabug gets KO'd. Back in comes the Sealeo, and they're just going to stop tapping as they know, unfortunately, there is just no path to victory in that game. We move to the next match against a trainer named Velociraptor, and this is a terrible lead, leading to Thundurus into Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales. But the safe switch into Sealeo is going to be answered with Jellicent, and this game has to be over. Unfortunately, there's just no way to win this game. The opponent played it perfectly, which is understanding they have a very hard answer to the safe switch, so they banked a ton of energy on the Ninetales, and this team is very weak to ice before sending in the Jellicent. Jellicent getting hit with Surf after Surf. This Shadow Ball is not going to be knocking out the Sealeo, but it will do some pretty significant damage. Sealeo barely hanging on. Sealeo makes the last second surf. Does the opponent even decide to make a play for switch advantage here, or do they just fully sack the Jellicent? They're sacrificing the Jellicent. They could even go for a farm down with the Ninetales. At this point, the Ninetales is just unbeatable, but they send in a regular Feraligatr. In comes Thundurus. Feraligatr is going to be able to outpace, and I just think there's no possible way to ever win this game. Feraligatr goes for the Hydro Cannon. There's the combo play as in comes the Alolan Ninetales. Able to read the combo play, fire off the Brick Break, and get the shield. But man, the only way you could probably ever hope to win is by Poison Stinging down, and I just think the Ninetales is far too bulky. In comes Ninetales. Ninetales going to be spamming out Weather Ball after Weather Ball, and this poor Clodsire is about to get completely overwhelmed. Clodsire going for the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb would be KOing. The opponent could probably just let this go and also win with the Feraligatr, and that's exactly what they're going to do. In comes Feraligatr. Feraligatr going to be hit with the Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb would do some pretty significant damage onto Feraligatr, so the shield does come up. Feraligatr going to look to double up here, and if they're throwing here, they should have the back-to-back, which means unfortunately this will be game over. Hydro Cannon gets shielded. They didn't have the double up! Oh my goodness, they needed to shield the Ninetales. Sludge Bomb lands, but it doesn't KO. Oh my goodness, I take it all back. What a roller coaster of a game. Opponents not knowing the moveset of Thundurus has been a big advantage in these games. So a lot of trainers have been shielding moves that in reality wouldn't do them a lot of harm. We move to the next match, Shadow Thundurus and Jellicent. Thundurus has the pacing advantage. Thundurus makes a very risky play, anticipating the opponent would throw on CMD, and it actually ends up paying off. The opponent throwing on alignment, trying to grab a shield and dip if Thundurus went for good timing, but Thundurus called it out. Opponent safe switches into Florges. Florges is going to be answered with the Clodsire. Even though Chilling Water does super effective damage here, the bulk of Clodsire is very helpful. This Clodsire can take 2 Chilling Waters very comfortably and will be able to hit back hard for big super effective damage with Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb is going to land devastating damage onto that Florges, but if Clodsire tries to farm down, then Florges will be making a 3rd Chilling Water and potentially flipping switch. Clodsire gonna go for it, can't quite get the farm down. Clodsire just gonna let itself get KO'd here. Oh, Clodsire actually hangs on 1 HP. I was not expecting that. Very, very bulky Clodsire. It's barely able to hang on, and back in comes the Jellicent. Thankfully, there was some energy banked on the Thundurus before switching in the Clodsire when Florges came in, so there's already a Thunder Punch ready to go. Thunder Punch shielded up by the Jellicent. What could the opponent have in the back that they had to stay in against an Electric-type lead? To be fair, it is just Shadow Thundurus, so it's very, very glassy. They had a Guzzlord in the back, so they just had no reason to stay in whatsoever. Guzzlord takes huge damage from Brick Break, my goodness. And now in comes Sealeo. Sealeo, no shields remaining. This Sludge Bomb is going to hurt. Sludge Bomb is going to land. Sealeo gets the farm down and exits with a Surf loaded. Back in comes Jellicent. Jellicent, we've established, even though it's a wall to Sealeo's energy, a Shadow Surf will still add up. Trying to make it to a last second surf, opponent realizes they can't overfarm enough to make a move into the Thundurus, and they will concede the match. Thundurus into Lickilicky in the next game. Now this matchup is a bit awkward. Lickilicky has incredibly fast pacing, able to spam out those body slams. Thundurus gonna have to put up an early shield, but Thundurus can hit back hard for super effective damage with the Brick Break. Brick Break into the Lickilicky will be shielded, and shielded the first Brick Break is definitely not what you want to do. Lickilicky goes for good timing, but that gives Thundurus yet another Brick Break. Brick Break is going to be double shielded, and there is a Body Slam catch onto the Shadow Sealeo. Lickilicky may want to stay in here as it's a rollout user, but they're double debuffed. Look at those Powder Snows. Those Powder Snows look super effective now, thanks to the double Brick Break debuffs. Opponent now sends in a Shadow Primeape, and unfortunately, by staying in, they fed the energy to the Sealeo needed to make this surf and pick up the one-hit knockout. It's all going wrong, and now they send in Gourgeist. Gourgeist will get the farm down. Sealeo gets some nice Powder Snow damage, but forced to settle for the double resisted Body Slam. Body Slam not going to do much, as in comes Clodsire. Clodsire farming up. Oh, the catch onto Thundurus. Opponent was at 100 energy. They had to throw there, so a very safe Shadow Ball catch. Back in comes the Clodsire, and now that that energy has been wasted, Clodsire is still very healthy and still has its shield intact. Sludge Bomb is going to land. Clodsire can't quite get to the Sludge Bomb before a last-second charge attack, and it's going to be the Seed Bomb pulls the shield. There's the pivot into Lickilicky. Lickilicky would love to land a charge attack, but it's not going to get that chance. Earthquake lands. Oh, it actually will. 1 HP survive from the Lickilicky, barely hanging on, but that's only a Body Slam. Body Slam will not put it into Shadow Ball range. Back in comes the Gourgeist. It banked the Shadow Ball. It was hoping Lickilicky could do enough damage, but it did not. Gourgeist gets farmed down by Clodsire, and that's going to be a win. Hopping into the final match, leading Shadow Thundurus into Bastiodon once again. Oh my goodness. The Bastiodons will not go away. Unfortunately, this team is ABA weak to Bastiodon, so Thundurus is having to stay in. However, it looks like Thundurus somehow has barely enough bulk to make it to a second Brick Break. Opponent shields the first Brick Break, and that's going to cost them. Now this second Brick Break is about to be criminal damage. Bastiodon gets rocked, and in comes Clodsire as the opponent safe switches into Marowak. Marowak not even building up to the rock side, just going for the Bone Club, but Sealeo knows it needs to shield something. So the shield comes up, Sealeo, these Powder Snows shredding through the Marowak, and Body Slam should be enough damage to KO this Pokemon. Body Slam lands, down goes the Marowak, in comes Bastiodon, and they try and throw on a CMP tie that they're never going to win. Surf takes the KO, it's Shadow Torterra in the back, and Sealeo is putting on an absolute masterclass in this final game. Powder Snow shredding. There's the shield on the Body Slam. In comes Clodsire, and there's just nothing they can do. Clodsire was going to go for the Bad Manners Earthquake, but unfortunately, Toxic Bastiodon double slap top lefts before that Earthquake can land. All in all, man, these were some very, very fun battles. I feel like Bastiodon has been my personal Open Great League nemesis for many, many seasons. It's a Pokemon I've openly hated for a very long time. So to see Bastiodon get consistently destroyed by a 1500 stat product flyer was exceedingly funny. Now, as I mentioned at the start, Shadow Thundurus is never a Pokemon that should be on your team if you're looking to win. Now, Maki mentioned that he was able to go 10-5 across these sets, but I would argue that was more the result of very careful gameplay and people just not really knowing the moveset on Thundurus. There were quite a few games where the results could have gone differently if this wasn't a newly released Mon. If people knew, oh, it's Brick Break Thunder Punch, I don't have to shield my full health Alola Ninetales, for example, then games start to get quite a bit trickier. But I really do like trying to feature new Pokemon when they come to the channel. I really feel like this was basically the perfect Shadow Thundurus showcase that I could have ever asked for. As Shadow Thundurus continually taking down those toxic Bastiodon teams brought me great joy. That was a lot of fun. You could probably hear it in my commentary. I was having an absolute blast sitting here at my desk watching these battles back. So thank you again to Maki DK for sending in these battles. Shadow Thundurus, unfortunately, I got a pretty bad one, so I do technically have one. It's probably not going to get brought out unless it does get access to Wild Bolt Storm in the future, which is the legacy move that the Therian version learns. But for now, at the very least, I do have them on, but man, down with Bastiodon. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please do leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And an extra special thank you to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.